love the conversation that happens every time I talk about moving back to Jamaica. A lot of you feel the same way. You have been burnt out, you're tired, you're there for how long, and you want to come back to your yard. Some of you really miss Jamaica. You come back to Jamaica for vacations and you love it. And so you're wondering, should I move back home? A lot of you reach out to me. You know, the conversation is robust. I think the last video has over 600 comments. And some of you reach out to me via the DM. Some of you email me. There are a lot of questions that you have about repatriating, about moving back to Jamaica. And so I wanted to give you some questions that you could ask yourself, some starting points to see if this is really for you. Because, like a few of you pointed out in the comments, I only moved away for 2.5 years. It's a little bit of time. And I came home every summer, even though I was away for 2.5 years. Some of you have been away for 20 years, 30 years. You spent your whole life abroad. The Jamaica that you left behind is not here anymore. This is a brand new Jamaica. And so I understand the reverse culture shock that you might go through, especially if you've not been visiting the island very often. And so I want to give you a few questions to ask yourself, a few research points to start with so that you can decide, to help you decide if you want to move back home. Now, a lot of you guys have moved away and you have found home somewhere else. I know me a chat too. A lot of you like to point out that, you went away and you've made your home somewhere else and you come back to Jamaica and you can't believe us a Jamaica stay and you would have never moved back here because the healthcare and the this and the that. I know me a chat too. Jamaica is home to a lot of us. And if it's not for you, I congratulate you on finding home wherever it is that you landed and you feel your best right now. Now, to my Jamaicans who want to move back home, question number one that I think you want to ask yourself, why? Because it always boils back down to why. Why am I doing this? If you don't have a strong answer for why you want to move back home, you might not want to go through all the hiccups and the hurdles that will come with moving back home. So make sure you ask yourself, is it emotional? Is it financial? Is it a change in lifestyle that you want? Ask yourself why you're moving back to Jamaica to help you in those times when it's really difficult and you might buck up on a hurdle. Have your why at your forefront. This is going to be worth it because. And if you come up with a really strong why that takes you through to that final stage where you're actually back home and enjoying yourself, then you absolutely know it's worth the move. If you write down a why and you realize that your life stands to gain so much from this move, then yes, I would say move forward. Another question you want to ask yourself, have I visited Jamaica recently? It's been changing. I've said that a lot. The services, the quality of life, the cost of living, even the infrastructure has changed a lot since you've left here 5 or 10 years ago. So ask yourself if you visited recently or if you're hanging on to a nostalgia of the Jamaica that once was. Because maybe you come back a yard and you realize, no, sir, this is not for me no more, and you stand where you're dead. And that's completely okay. But I want you to make sure that you have visited Jamaica recently if you really want to move back here, because you want to reconnect with the island as it stands now in order to make your decision. Question number 3, can you maintain your lifestyle on whatever you have coming in right now, either your savings or your income that you have coming in that you're moving to Jamaica with? Can you maintain your lifestyle? And if you can't maintain it at that level, because, third world and first world, different lifestyles, can you maintain a lifestyle here on the island that you're willing to live? Can you live in a nice home, in a nice neighborhood, drive a nice car, eat out often? Can you maintain a certain lifestyle that will not make you feel miserable? Because you don't want to be living one way abroad and come to Jamaica and feel like you're a suffer. That's not going to work. You're going to feel absolutely miserable. So think about the lifestyle that you're currently living. Will a move to Jamaica make it better or worse? Think about that. Now, of course, when you're talking about your lifestyle, you have to get money from somewhere. So the next question you want to ask yourself is, do you plan to work? Are you going to retire here? Do you have some savings coming with? How are you going to maintain yourself once you're on the island? If you are planning to work, you need to start to network from your day over there. So you can't wait till you come to Jamaica unless you're coming with at least 6 months to 1 year's savings. You can't come to Jamaica and start look work. You have to start networking and looking for jobs even before you come. Trust me when I say that, because it's gonna take some time to find a job that will maintain the lifestyle that you want. And of course, you have to do your research too, because the pay that you get out here in Jamaica is not going to be comparable to the pay that you get a foreign, but hopefully it is at least enough to maintain a Jamaican cost of living lifestyle. And for those of you who are going to ask me what the cost of living is like right now, I do have a video on this. Make sure you check it out. I will leave that link in the description. I'll also link it up here so you can click on it and it will play after this video, okay? So make sure that you start to network, put out your feelers. Hey guys, whosoever you have a yard, tell them say you plan to come back and you want to work. Tell them what kind of industry you're in. See if you can start to do that groundwork before you move back home. Now, on the job side, you're going to, of course, want to know where you're going to live long term. So are you coming in the city like me from Kingston, or are you going to the rural areas? Are you going into rural but not so rural, so you're still city type, like maybe you're going to Montego Bay, Negril, Ocho, or are you going straight rural? You're going to St. Elizabeth, you're going to Hanover, you're going up into the mountains or down on the beach side. Where are you going to live long term? That goes hand in hand with how much money you're coming back with, and are you going to retire or you look at work? Because if you're coming to have a job, to try and get a job here in Jamaica, then you might want to be close to a city so that you can get a job here in Jamaica. That's one of the reasons why I moved back to Kingston, to make sure that I would maximize my chances of securing a job in a place that I loved. I know where I wanted to live long term. So make sure you think about that, because a lot of you who have reached out to me or who have left comments are from the rural areas, and rural where you're born and grow. But if you're coming back, not to retire, because if you're coming back to retire, then rural is great. But if you're coming back to try and get a job, you might want to think about what city life looks like here in Jamaica as opposed to where you're from. Now, a lot of you also are very cognizant of the fact that when you live a foreign long time and you leave back certain family members, the family member them can, we have a thing in Jamaica we call bad mind. And so a lot of you guys don't want to be around family members. That is also something to think of. Maybe you don't want to go back to exactly where you came from. Maybe you do want to come back to Jamaica, but you're in an entirely different parish. So you're around family members, because I get the dynamics. I get what it can be like. I get how they can perceive you. Because then things say you go a foreign and you make up the money and you're rich and you have one bag of money now. And so you're coming to live back with them can cause whole heap of cascas, as we would say as Jamaicans, whole heap of problems. So that is something else to consider. Where are you going to live long term? Are you going to live with family per family land? Consider that carefully. Or are you going to set up somewhere else that is all your own? Now, if you're coming back full term, there are some benefits to coming back as a returning resident. So make sure you research that, some customs benefits and some things that you can benefit from when you're coming back. So make sure you look into that. What kind of benefits might I be eligible for? Look into that if you're further along on this decision-making process and you're deciding, say, yeah, man, me I got me yard. Make sure you look into what the returning resident process is, so you can benefit from any little thing that is out there that can help you make the transition smoother. Now, of course, a big one. What are you going to do for healthcare? What kind of ailments do you currently have? What kind of medications are you currently on? Do you need to be close to a hospital or a health center, a medical center, or can you go up and live in the hilltop? You have to consider healthcare, because for a lot of people, healthcare is a big consideration when deciding whether to move back to Jamaica or not. I've done a whole video on the state of our healthcare right now. I'm not here to argue with you about how we healthcare bad or it good or it this or it that. I've done a whole video on that. You can go and watch that video if you want. What I will say is that if you know you have certain medical needs right now, you want to consider where you're going to live in relation to how close you are to a healthcare facility. So always make sure to consider that when you're making your move. Another thing you want to consider is, do you have local support? Do you have family and friends who can help make this transition easier for you? Do you have family and friends that you trust? Because that is a big thing, you know. Do you have feet on the ground that can help you with things like looking for a place to rent if you're going to rent, looking for a place to buy, looking for a good deal on a second-hand car if that's what you want to do? Do you have people helping you to like move into the house after you've bought it? Maybe you buy a house and you're gone back where to deal with some things. You leave your key with them and say, all right, mega send you some furniture, set up the place for me. Do you have local support who can help you with any little thing? And how will it be a mutually beneficial relationship so they don't feel like you're a burden, and they are willing and able to help you out? Think about those kind of things. Also, do you have local support in terms of your social circle? How are you going to reintegrate back into life in Jamaica socially? What kind of friends do you have here? If not, that is something else that you can also start to do from overseas. Make sure that you start jumping on social media, you get into some Facebook groups, you start to look for activities that you might find interesting that is close to wherever you know you're going to set up house. So if you're into dominoes and tennis and sports and hiking and walking, make sure you're looking for those kind of groups on Facebook so you can start to reach out to these communities, join these communities from even before. So you have a social group running when you land, because that is going to be so important to making sure that when you come and you're in the trenches, you don't feel too miserable and too left out and too lonely, because repatriating can be as lonely as when you first leave if you don't make sure that your network, your social network, is solid. How will you deal with safety and security? That's another big thing, just like healthcare, that people are kind of iffy about wanting to move back to Jamaica. Some people want to have a big piece of land up in the hillside somewhere. Some people, it is very important to them to make sure that they are behind gates. They're in a gated community. They have some kind of security working with. Some people are saying them no one, they're near a family, they want, they're far from them, you know. What are you going to do to make yourself feel secure? I don't have any suggestions for you there. I did my own research and decided where I want to live. I chose a gated community to move into. It was always going to be a gated community because it's just me and my baby girl. So do your own research and decide upon that. How are you going to make sure you feel safe? If you don't have a car immediately when you come and you're walking on the streets, how are you going to make sure that you feel safe? And that is not something that causes you stress and strife when you move here. And that brings me to my next question, my next point. How are you going to deal with reverse culture shock? If you haven't been to Jamaica in a long time, a reverse culture shock is going to happen. It's going to happen in two ways. It's going to happen in the fact that, as I said, the Jamaica that you left is not the same Jamaica. A lot has changed. A lot has evolved. Some things have gotten even better. A lot of you don't agree with me, but some things have gotten even better. There's so much more infrastructure happening, but it's still a very slow paced lifestyle. There's still a lot of red tape and a lot of bureaucracy, especially when you come in to buy your house and get your car and set up a business here. It's going to be a frustrating process, especially if you're coming from a first world country. All right, so that's the second point. Are you willing to deal with that reverse culture shock? The bureaucracy. Comparing it to where you're coming from, it's not going to be that safe, that same things happen quick, things happen easy. It's not going to be the same. There's a lot of hurry up and wait here in Jamaica. Are you conditioning your mind to say, well, me I go back on my yard, so I don't really care about, or not that you care, but you know that the frustrations will come, but you know, because you have your why that we spoke about in question 1, because you have that why and you know that it will all be worth it in the end, you are willing to deal with and work through the reverse culture shock. Just make sure that you're thinking about those things. Now, for people that ask me, people who are not Jamaicans, who have reached out to me, they've seen my videos and they want to come move to Jamaica, I ask you the same things pretty much. Why Jamaica? Why not Trinidad? Why not Dominica? Why not Barbados? Why Jamaica? You have to make sure that your why is super strong to make this kind of move, to move to another country. I did my deep research when I was choosing Mexico to move to with my family. You have to do the same thing. Why Jamaica? Why do you want to move to Jamaica? And then a lot of you are asking me where on the island you should check out or you should live. I can't answer that question for you because I don't know what kind of lifestyle you want. Kingston is going to be if you want that fast paced city lifestyle, you want all the restaurants, the entertainment, the activities. The North Coast is going to be for you if you've researched Jamaica and you want the beach and the attractions and the touristy things. And if you want a mix of that city, slower city, but still city lifestyle mixed with beach and attractions, then the North Coast will be for you. The South Coast and some of the North Coast over on the east side of the North Coast is going to be real rural, real slow, really beautiful. But that is the kind of lifestyle that you will find there. So I don't know how to answer that question. Where should you look into? That depends on your lifestyle, who you're coming with, what you have going on. But I gave you some tips there to start off with. If you're new to Jamaica, and this is probably for both returning residents and brand new people, if you haven't returned in a while, have you spent enough time here to understand the difference between daily life and a vacation? Because a lot of you say, yeah, man, I go yard every year, but you no go yard and no go down a Rio, go stay for 3 nights and then go back on a yard. So a vacation and living in Jamaica is two completely different things. Have you spent enough time here to know what it's like to go down a shop, go buy, to go a market, to take one taxi, go somewhere, to go down a JPS, go deal with the light? Have you spent enough time here to deal with flow and the internet outage? All of them sitting there. Have you spent enough time here to see what kind of frustrations and if you can deal with it? You get what I'm saying? Two different things. Make sure that if you're choosing to come back to Jamaica, you know what daily life is and the good outweighs the bad for you, because you want to make sure you have a realistic budget of what it will take to live here. Now, Jamaica is home for me. Jamaica yard. I don't want to live anywhere else. We never tell us that Jamaica cheap though. Jamaica is not cheaper than living in the US in some parts. It's not cheap to live here. So make sure you have a realistic budget of what you will be living on and how you want to live, and make sure you can afford the lifestyle that you think you're going to want to live here in Jamaica. Because if you think you can come to Jamaica, come live on $2,000 a month, I mean, it's doable if it's you one and you go country go live. That's all I got to say about that. Another question that you might want to ask yourself, and this is for brand new people and returning residents: can you live without some of the accoutrements that you've now become accustomed to living in a first world country? Things like online shopping and getting your packages next day. That not there, that not there year. It's getting better. We have Amazon now delivering directly to Jamaica. It's certainly not next day. So some of the conveniences that you've come to know and love living a foreign, can you do without them here? Is it a trade-off that is worth it for you to come and live this slow-paced lifestyle in this nature heaven? Because, I don't want you to think that I'm asking all these questions to turn you off from moving or moving back to Jamaica. I really just want you to be realistic about what you're about to go through. But for me and so many others who have made this transition, it was absolutely worth it. So all I want to do, I'm going to wrap up this video by saying that, we have a slower lifestyle. There's going to be much more red tape, and it's going to be so much more difficult to do things than you're probably accustomed to. There are going to be some frustrations with the whole process of moving back home. And you're going to want to bang your head on the wall a few times and say, what may I do? But there are going to be some amazing moments that make it all worth it for you. So those were just a few little questions that I wanted to plant in your head, a few little pointers that I wanted to put out there to say that if you really and truly think you want to move come to Jamaica, make sure that you've checked off and you've considered all of these things first before you make the jump. But the jump is worth it. It certainly was worth it for me and my little munchkin moving back here. And I'm pretty sure it will be worth it for you too. Any other things, any other questions you want to ask me, make sure you leave them down in the comment section below and I will be sure to answer them for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you click like and you subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, guys, please make sure you subscribe and hit like on this video to push it out to more people so they can get this information. It helps me out so much. This is Monique from Kingston, and I will catch y'all in the next one.